Good afternoon. So my name is Thierry Fautier, for those who don't speak French, but it's okay. I am going to give you a very quick and hopefully very concise tour of multiscreen, and I hope we'll have enough time for questions. So we'll start by the TV everywhere definition, how the TV is evolving in terms of distribution, what is TV everywhere versus the OTT, and then we'll have some discussion of TV everywhere, and then in conclusion, I will share with you what in Harmonic we are doing. First, you have probably seen OTT service, Zatu in Europe, Netflix, Sling TV now a live OTT service. Very simple model, adaptive streaming head-end managed by an OTT operator that goes through the internet to connected device. Connected device can be second screen, first screen, whatever is able to swallow an adaptive bitrate stream. TV Everywhere was basically a response from MVPD, which is operator, service provider, over managed network. And here you have two pieces, a broadcast head-end, which is feeding the classical quality of service IP network, or in addition to that, you have an adaptive streaming head-end, which is managed by the operator. Cable and telco will always go through their operated managed network. The others, the DTH and terrestrial network, will go across the public internet. And again, classically, the broadcast goes to set-top box, and the internet goes to connected device. But we see also things changing. So I'm glad to see we have some broadcasters in the audience. It all started with broadcasters. Broadcasters have great content, and they had a way to deliver that across a broadcast network. Then came the service providers, who are basically taking the broadcast content and the content provider specifically created for service providers, and you have companies like ESPN, HBO creating content. They are selling that to the MVPDs, Comcast, DirecTV, AT&T, to take the US example, and this goes to a managed network being wired or wireless like terrestrial or DTH. Then came the new entrants, the OTT guys, who took their own content they got from the broadcasters, the longer window, and of course, they started to get some attractive content from content providers. This is the third stage of the rocket. Coming as I would say, a response from the MVPDs, you get the MVPDs who took their linear broadcast content and put that over the public internet or across their own network. Is it the end? No, because now you have the broadcaster who say, oh, Mr. Service Provider, you might not be as aggressive as I would like you to be, therefore I'm going to give my own content on the internet directly B2C. Is that finished? Absolutely not. HBO, doing the same. I'm going to have my HBO Go content which is going to go across the public internet because I'm not sure this cable operator is going to give me either enough money or have enough reach or enough aggressiveness to go to the new device. So as you can see, we started from a very, very, very simple word to a very complicated where everybody at the end of the day ends up over the public internet. I wanted also to share with you what we see happening between OTT and TV everywhere. So we have two real categories. OTT, you see those are the operators who are offering a service across the public internet, and the TV everywhere is what the operators are offering across their own network. And we see three main categories. First one is the second screen, your tablet, your iPad, and you see on OTT operators like Now TV, Sky, Italia, Sling, and Netflix. Those are true OTT services who are running on the second screen. More interesting, the same stream can also go on your TV or on your set-top box. And the same operators are now able to serve the content with a much better quality because of the adaptive streaming to TV. And the third category is, of course, the MVPD set-top box. And what we see today is some operators have decided, like Comhem, Orange, or Virgin, to adopt the Netflix support on their set-top box so that the consumer doesn't have to buy another set-top box and spend more time on some competing service. So how about TV everywhere? We can say today that most of the MVPDs has a second screen TV everywhere. Some TV everywhere operator have decided to go to the first screen. Orange has a deal with some TV manufacturer. Sky has a deal with Roku. Time Warner has a deal with Roku. So in that case, they replace entirely the set-top box and they put your set-top box, some qualified set-top box that you buy. And of course, the MVPD doesn't offer a TV everywhere on their set-top box since they have already the broadcast channel on this set-top box. So one comment I would say is this is very good for the second screen. It can be a very good cutter offering. Operators are starting to have a specific offering for people who do not want to take the full service. That's the example for Now TV. We have seen the first massive live service with Sling TV in the United States. This is having some decent success. We see also Telecom Italia, after trying multicast, OTT by themselves, now working together with Sky for a full live TV, full OTT across their own network. So this is the first time an operator is making this bold move. And we see some collaboration between the service provider and the OTT guys. So the two worlds are really melding together. So let's look at the TV everywhere approach. What happens in the real life? Well, MVPD operator is classically offering a broadcast channel through the broadcast encoder, and then for live channel is building an OTT live head-end with a packager and an origin server. At the same time, the content provider is still protective, and he says, I'm going to give you the catch-up and the VOD that I encode myself. I'm going to push that over FTP after I transcode it to your origin server. So this is quite a complex system. One of the problems is the lag you have between live and catch-up is something around 8 hours. It's quite complex because you need to integrate two different workflows. Obviously, it's not integrated. You have different type of management system and workflow working together. Very often, you have a legacy broadcast system to which you add your OTT system, so it's two different management systems working together. Of course, everything was built on the go. It's all custom integration, custom API. And of course, because the encoding is done at the content provider side, you have to carry multiple formats on your storage. So if you have 3, 4, 5 different packaging, you will have to multiply your CapEx by 3, 4, 5 times. And this is where MPEG-Dash is obviously an answer to the problem, but we don't live in a perfect world. We still have to fight Apple. So at the end of the day, when you look at this picture, I would say it's not looking very good. And this is why you understand service providers, TV everywhere, is mostly a loss maker today. Why? Well, you can retain your customer, some good churn tool, retention tool, but you need to spend money for the content. You need to build an overlay head-end. You have, of course, a lot of CDN cost, a lot of storage cost. So there's nothing really exciting for a service provider to deploy multiscreen. So let's look at how things could go for an operator who, for example, just an example, working with a Harmonic solution. So first thing we have to do is to put together those encoder broadcast and OTT together. Two reasons. First, it's always simple to manage one system versus two systems, and eventually, we don't know if the market is not going to move more to adaptive streaming as opposed to classical IP multicast. The jury is still out on this one. Second, you want to unify all the encoding origin architecture because you don't want to give that to somebody else. And at the end of the day, this is how it looks like. First, you have an integrated management system for live, origin server, and all the storage is one single unified management system. Of course, you have one unified encoder and can help you to switch between the two architecture, IP multicast and ABR. You want to have standard API. You don't like this CMS, you might be able to replace it. You don't like this DRM, you want another DRM. You use Dash, common encryption, key exchange mechanism system, and this is the freedom for the operator. Of course, you want to optimize your storage. One of the problems is you don't want to store all the format. You want to store one mezzanine file format, and you want to package on the fly everything that is coming through the origin server. And of course, you don't want to transcode. It's been transcoded, you cache it, and you serve it. So this is cutting a lot in terms of delay, in terms of storage, and in terms of CPU power. And of course, cherry on a cake, it's 20-second lag from live to catch up. Instant gratification, we believe, is going to be important over time. And of course, Harmonic has developed a VOS architecture that brings all those blocks together in a virtualized environment, which means this can be also deployed in a data center architecture, which is quite different from a classical hardware architecture. So let's look at the business model. First, you can retain your customers. Second, and I'm not going to go too much into detail, but with this architecture, you can also have advertisement, targeted advertisement, national advertisement. You can have cloud DVR because you have a very smart way to store the content. You don't need to encode it. And if you are able to package on the fly, you can have as many formats as you want to serve. You just need to store one format. And of course, you saw from the previous diagram, you can have SVOD together with your content providers like Netflix. And this is also possible that you host the streaming on your site, depending on the business agreements. In terms of cost, it's not plus, but it's minus. Less licensing cost because you can scale much more. You have more subscribers, and you have more added value service, so your content provider are going to give you a cut. It's a unified head-end, thanks to the VOS architecture. CDN cost is reduced because you store only one file format, storage cost also. The TCO, because you have a cloud-based architecture, you don't need to stack boxes. You just have one data center on which you can download your software. And last but not the least, we also believe that bring your own device can save a lot of dollars for the operator. It doesn't have to subsidize the set-top box anymore. And this is a big cut. For those who have done the studies, this is the #1 cost of an operator's deployment. So where do we stand today on TV Everywhere? Well, about 10 to 20% of MVPD customers in the US are using the TV Everywhere service. There's clearly a surge of mobile consumption. Mobile, not tablet. People are using their mobile mostly in the home, and this is over Wi-Fi. So do not dream about 4G or 5G. This is inside the home most of the time. TV Everywhere is good for Generation X, which is my generation. It's great for Generation Y, which is your kid. And Generation Z, the one who are born after 2000, are all falling in love with this type of delivery mechanism because it's freedom. They can get what they want, when they want, where they want. In terms of operation, it's not yet scaled. Very little operators have scaled the full lineup. It's mostly limited to a certain number of channels, just because they are not sure of the business model, but also sometimes because they don't get the rights. There's a lack of web agility. You can talk to operators today. They are mostly in the classical all-box model. They stack the box, and the more box they stack, the more it costs them. So at some time they say, let's not deploy full scale. In terms of business, it's not yet profitable from what we see. Advertisement and cloud DVR could change that because this is really revenue-bearing services. It's a great retention tool for TV services. And it's used also to create cord-cutter offering. Example, HBO Go, Sky Go, Comcast StreamPix. So all those offerings are basically offering a low tier for your cord cutters who are not interested to pay the full package. So let's look at Harmonic VOS. So basically, it's an architecture and a framework where you can do the ingest, the production playout, the graphic branding, the compression, and the broadcast multiscreen delivery across virtualized infrastructure, standard hardware server. So this is, we believe, the way for the operators to move faster as opposed to waiting for a new chip or waiting for a new box. Function collapse, compression innovation, and virtualization are the three main pillars of this architecture. So what does it bring us? Well, first, it's a range of products. We don't only have the transcoder, we have the packager and the origin server. So it's basically one-stop stopping for operators. Software-based approach enables faster video quality improvement over ASICs. So we have been developing ASICs for ages. And we can see today with software, we can move faster at a much better video quality. And of course, this is going to lower the CDN cost. We decouple the hardware from the application. The operator can still decide what hardware he wants to buy, provided that we can support our application. We also see very interesting that the density we are getting with a CPU-based architecture is denser than our best hardware. This was not the case 3 years ago. Now we see the crossing point. Of course, lower cost of ownership. And then when we deploy even on Blade server, we can see that the TCO is significantly reduced compared to the classical 1RU server. So again, another gain in cost of ownership. And of course, this can be deployed on any private cloud environment. This is going to bring a huge agility to operators, and they will have the same tools to go and combat the OTT guys who are all on the cloud today. To conclude, TV Everywhere is a great asset for operators to combat OTT and retain customers. MVPD need to advertise their TV service more than they do today. 20% adoption is still very low. Unified TV Everywhere architecture will improve the TCO for all the TV service, not only the OTT side, but also the broadcast side. And virtualization will reduce cost and increase the business agility. So we believe that the Harmonic VOS is the perfect tool for TV Everywhere, but also for the broadcast application. Thank you very much.